The inheritance of scrap. The Requiem drifted in the vast emptiness of space, its once proud hull now scarred with patches and impact craters. In the grand docking bay of Confederation Central Station, it looked pitifully small compared to the gleaming warships anchored on either side. The light cruiser had served for nearly 70 years, ancient by Confederation standards, and everyone knew it was just waiting to be scrapped. Captain Sarah Chen stood tall as she led her team through the crowded station concourse. Her weathered face showed the strain of Earth's recent conflicts, but her eyes remained sharp and focused. Behind her walked her hand-picked crew. Dr. Elijah Okafor, with his diagnostic tablet tucked under his arm, Lieutenant Maya Patel with her military posture, Engineer Thomas Rodriguez, scanning everything with technical curiosity, and Security Chief Damian Walsh, constantly assessing potential threats. "That broken-down hulk can't possibly be our assignment," Maya whispered as they approached the observation deck. The Requiem hung in space like a forgotten relic, its hull plating mismatched where repairs had been made with whatever materials were available. "It is," Sarah replied simply. She had expected this. When Earth finally joined the Galactic Confederation 6 months ago, humans were still seen as primitive newcomers, unproven and unwelcome. Giving them the worst ship in the fleet was both a challenge and an insult. A tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin approached them, her uniform bearing the elaborate insignia of a Confederation High Command liaison. "I am Thalia," she announced without offering any greeting gesture. "I will be overseeing your assignment." The way she said the last word made it clear what she thought of humans commanding any Confederation vessel. "Captain Chen." Sarah introduced herself with a firm nod. "We're ready to inspect our ship." Thalia made a sound that might have been laughter. "Inspect? The Requiem has already been inspected. It meets minimum Confederation safety protocols." "Barely." The shuttle ride to the Requiem was tense and silent. When they docked and the airlock hissed open, the smell hit them first. Stale air mixed with the scent of corroded metal and leaked hydraulic fluid. "Welcome to your new home," Thalia said, stepping through the airlock. "Admiral Kresh sends his regards. Your orders are simple. Patrol the outer boundary sectors 12 through 18, report any unusual activity, and stay out of everyone's way." Sarah nodded curtly. The outer boundary was the emptiest, quietest region of Confederation space, perfect for keeping an embarrassing ship and its equally embarrassing crew far from important eyes. "I'll show you to the bridge," Thalia continued. "Try not to touch anything until the official transfer of command is complete." The corridors of the Requiem were narrow and dim. Exposed conduits hung from ceiling panels, and the floor plates rattled under their boots. "This is worse than I imagined," Maya whispered to Thomas. "It's perfect," Thomas replied with a small smile. The bridge was cramped compared to Earth vessels of similar size. 5 worn control stations formed a semicircle around a central command chair. The view screen flickered with static every few seconds. "Your quarters are on Deck 3, Thalia said. "The previous crew left in something of a hurry. You may find some of their personal effects still aboard." "When was this ship last in combat?" Damian asked, running his hand over a weapons console. "The Requiem hasn't seen combat in 20 years, Thalia replied. "It was deemed unsuitable." After Thalia left them to familiarize themselves with their new command, the 5 humans stood in a circle on the bridge. "Well, Captain," Elijah asked, "what's the plan?" Sarah looked around the bridge, taking in every broken panel and flickering light. Then she smiled, a predator's smile. "The plan is Operation Phoenix, just as we discussed." The others nodded. They had been preparing for this since learning of their assignment. "They think they're punishing us," Sarah continued. "The worst ship for the newest species, but they don't understand humans very well. They don't understand what we can do with scraps," Thomas added, already examining a partially disassembled control panel. "Engine room first," Sarah decided. "Thomas, I want a complete assessment by 800 tomorrow. Maya, weapons inventory. Damian, security systems. Elijah, ship's computer and medical facilities. I'll review the ship's history and previous mission logs. The next day, they gathered again on the bridge. Their faces were smudged with grime, but their eyes shone with excitement. It's worse than we thought, Thomas reported first. The main propulsion system is running at 40% efficiency at best. The power core needs a complete overhaul. Weapons are a joke, Maya added. Standard Confederation beam arrays, but the targeting systems are from 3 generations ago. Half the missile tubes are sealed shut from lack of maintenance. Communications work, Damien said, but only at short range. The encryption protocols are outdated, and the security systems have more holes than a meteor-struck hull. And the computer core is running so many patches and workarounds that it's using 60% of its processing power just to maintain basic functions. Elijah finished. Sarah nodded, taking it all in. Then she looked at each of them. Then we have our work cut out for us. The official transfer ceremony is tomorrow. After that, we have 4 weeks before our first patrol begins. That's not enough time, Maya argued. It's enough to start, Sarah replied. Thomas, I want those engines running at 75% minimum before we leave dock. I'll need parts we don't have, he said. Then get creative. This is what we trained for. The transfer ceremony the next day was brief and cold. Admiral Kresh appeared via hologram, his massive, ridge-covered face filling the view screen. The Confederation acknowledges humanity's contribution to our fleet, he said without warmth. May the Requiem serve as a suitable introduction to our standards and protocols. His emphasis made the insult clear. After the Admiral's image faded, Thalia presented Sarah with an official data crystal. Your command codes and clearances, she explained. Limited to level 2 access, of course. Of course, Sarah replied calmly. I will remain aboard as your liaison and observer during your first patrol cycle, Thalia added. Standard procedure for new member species. We look forward to working with you, Sarah said, keeping her face neutral. As soon as Thalia left the bridge, Maya turned to Sarah. She's here to spy on us. Naturally, Sarah agreed. That's why we'll keep our most important modifications hidden until we're underway. Over the next 4 weeks, the human crew worked in rotating shifts around the clock. They requisitioned what parts they could, salvaged others from storage, and fabricated the rest. Thomas spent most of his time deep in the engine room, emerging only for brief meals before disappearing again. When Thalia inquired about their activities, Sarah explained that they were simply bringing the ship up to Earth standards of safety. The liaison seemed satisfied with this explanation, especially since the humans requested no special equipment or materials. The night before their departure, Sarah found Thomas in the engine room, surrounded by disassembled components. Will it work? She asked quietly. He looked up, his face streaked with lubricant, but his eyes bright with accomplishment. They gave us a floating coffin, he said, patting the newly modified power core, but we're turning it into something they've never seen before. He pointed to the schematics on his tablet. I've reconfigured the matter/antimatter injectors based on Earth's quantum compression theories. The Confederation engineers would never try this. They'd call it too unstable. And is it? Sarah asked. Thomas grinned. Only if you don't know what you're doing. As the Requiem prepared to leave dock the next morning, Thalia observed the human crew with obvious skepticism. Your patrol route has been programmed into the navigation computer, she said. Try not to get lost. Sarah settled into the command chair, feeling it adjust to her form. Crew status. Engineering ready, Thomas reported from his station. Weapons such as they are, ready, Maya added with a slight smile. Communications online, Damien confirmed. Medical and science stations functioning, Elijah said. Sarah nodded and looked ahead at the view screen, which now displayed a clear view of open space. Release docking clamps. Thrusters at 1/4. Take us out, nice and easy. As the Requiem pulled away from the station, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Confederation had given them their weakest ship as an insult. They would soon discover that was their first mistake. 2 weeks into their patrol mission, the Requiem cruised slowly through the empty regions of Sector 14. On the bridge, Thalia watched with growing curiosity as the human crew worked in perfect harmony despite the ship's obvious flaws. "Your engines are running 8% above the efficiency levels in the ship's records," Thalia noted, studying the display. "How is that possible without a Confederation dock overhaul?" Captain Chen glanced at Thomas, who merely shrugged. "Basic maintenance," Thomas said. "Sometimes all an old machine needs is a little care." Thalia didn't look convinced, but she said nothing more. As the liaison officer left the bridge, Sarah turned to her engineer. "How much have you actually improved them?" Thomas grinned. 25% so far, but I told the ship's computer to report only small improvements. No need to make our friends suspicious yet." Sarah nodded with approval. "Good thinking. How long until the real work can begin?" "Tonight," Thomas replied. "Elijah has figured out how to loop the ship's internal sensors. Thalia won't see what we're doing in the lower decks." When the night cycle began, the real work started. While Thalia slept in her quarters, the human crew gathered in Cargo Bay 3, the farthest room from the liaison's quarters. "Status reports," Sarah said quietly. Thomas went first. "I've prepared the engine modifications. We'll need at least 4 hours of complete engine shutdown to install them." "Too risky," Sarah replied. "Thalia would notice immediately." "Not if we do it during the weekly maintenance cycle," Maya suggested. "We're scheduled to power down for 2 hours next cycle. We could extend it by claiming we found an issue." Sarah nodded. "Good. What about weapons?" Maya displayed a schematic on her tablet. Confederation weapon systems are designed for specific tasks: point defense arrays for small targets, main cannons for large ships, and so on. But I've been redesigning them to be adaptable. "Adaptable how?" Damien asked. "On Earth, we learned to make weapons that can change their function based on the target," Maya explained. "The Confederation never developed this because they prefer specialized ships working together. But since we're alone out here, we need to be able to handle anything." "Excellent," Sarah said. "Damien, communications. Interesting discoveries," he replied. "The Confederation uses standard transmission protocols, but their actual code structure is inefficient. I've been rewriting the base code to use Earth's compression algorithms. We'll be able to send 10 times more data in the same transmission window and detect signals that Confederation ships would miss. And I've been helping Damien with the sensor arrays," Elijah added. "They're designed to look for specific energy signatures, but we're modifying them to detect patterns instead." Sarah looked at each of them with pride. "This is exactly why Earth chose each of you for this mission. You're not just experts, you're innovators." Over the next 2 weeks, the human crew worked tirelessly during the night cycles, keeping their most significant modifications hidden from Thalia. The Requiem began to change, subtly at first, then more dramatically as systems were upgraded one by one. On the 23rd day of their patrol, the alarm klaxons blared suddenly. "Multiple ships detected," Elijah reported, his fingers flying over his console. "Identification markers disabled. Configuration matches known pirate vessels." Sarah's mind raced. They weren't ready. The major modifications were only half complete. "Red alert. Battle stations," she ordered. "Thalia, to the bridge immediately." When the liaison arrived moments later, her usually composed features showed alarm. "Pirates in this sector. Impossible. The Requiem can't possibly engage hostile vessels. We must retreat and call for assistance." Sarah ignored her. "Distance to nearest enemy vessel, 200,000 kilometers and closing fast," Elijah reported. "Weapons status. All standard systems online," Maya replied, carefully omitting mention of their modifications. "Communications. Jamming detected," Damien said. "They're blocking our distress signals." Thalia moved to Sarah's side. "Captain Chen, you must understand. This ship cannot withstand combat. It was never meant to. We're about to find out what it can do, Sarah interrupted. Then she turned to her crew. Initiate Phoenix Protocol Phase 1. Around the bridge, human hands moved in practiced patterns, activating systems that shouldn't have existed. What are you doing? Thalia demanded. The view screen suddenly changed, displaying tactical overlays that no Confederation ship possessed. Predictive targeting online, Maya reported. Adaptive weapon configurations ready. Pattern recognition sensors active, Elijah added. I'm seeing through their jamming. Engine quantum compression engaged, Thomas said, his voice tight with concentration. We have 180% power available. Thalia stared in disbelief. This is impossible. Sarah's expression hardened as she watched the pirate vessels approach. You're about to see what humans can do with the ship you called useless. Symphony of destruction. The pirate vessels approached in an attack formation, their weapons charging. They clearly expected an easy target, a decrepit patrol ship on a routine mission. They're hailing us, Damien reported. On screen, Sarah ordered. The face that appeared was vaguely humanoid, with mottled gray skin and cybernetic implants protruding from the skull. Confederation vessel, power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Comply and your deaths will be quick. Sarah smiled coldly. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Requiem. I suggest you reconsider your approach. The pirate laughed. Earth, the primitives. This makes our hunt even more enjoyable. You have 30 seconds to comply before we open fire. The transmission cut off. They're splitting up, Elijah warned. Classic pincer movement. 30 seconds, Maya noted. How considerate of them. Sarah's mind raced through tactical options. The modifications weren't complete, but they might have enough. Thomas, divert all non-essential power to shields and weapons. Maya, load targeting solutions for all vessels. Damien, prepare a focused communications pulse on my mark. Elijah, I need weakness analysis on each ship. Thalia watched in confusion as the humans worked with practiced efficiency. 20 seconds to weapons range, Elijah announced. Captain, Thalia interjected, the Requiem cannot defeat 5 armed vessels. We must surrender and hope for rescue. Sarah ignored her. On my mark, execute tactical pattern Zulu 7. The pirate ships closed in, weapons glowing with deadly energy. Mark, Sarah commanded. The Requiem suddenly lurched as its engines fired at impossible efficiency. The ship rotated and accelerated between 2 of the approaching vessels, its newly modified weapons firing precise bursts that tore through the pirate ship's shields. Direct hits on vessels 1 and 3, Maya reported. Their shields are at 40%. Damien, now, Sarah ordered. A focused burst of communication energy pulsed from the Requiem, penetrating the pirate vessel's systems. Virus deployed, Damien announced. Their targeting systems are corrupted. The pirate ships fired wildly, their beams hitting empty space where the Requiem had been moments before. How are you doing this? Thalia demanded, gripping a console for support as the ship executed maneuvers it was never designed to perform. Vessel 2 is coming about, Elijah warned. They're launching missiles. Interception pattern, Sarah ordered. Maya, use the adaptive beam configuration. The Requiem's weapons changed frequency mid-burst, matching the exact resonance of the incoming missiles. They detonated prematurely, creating a cloud of debris. Thomas, push the engines to maximum, Sarah commanded. I want to get behind their formation. The structural integrity field can't. Thalia began. The structural integrity field has been reinforced. Thomas interrupted. Executing maneuver now. The Requiem accelerated at a rate that should have torn it apart, swinging behind the disorganized pirate formation. All weapons, concentrate fire on Vessel 4, Sarah ordered. Target their engine housing. Precise beams lanced out, converging on a single point. The pirate ship's engines detonated in a brilliant flash. One down, Maya reported with satisfaction. The battle continued for 20 intense minutes. The Requiem danced through space, evading most enemy fire while delivering precise counterattacks. When it was over, 3 pirate vessels were destroyed, and 2 were disabled and drifting. Philia stared at the tactical display in disbelief. This is impossible. The Requiem was barely spaceworthy. Sarah turned to her liaison with a level gaze. You gave us a ship you thought was useless. We made it worthy of its name. News of the Requiem's victory spread quickly through Confederation space. What should have been a routine patrol had turned into a stunning demonstration of capability. The official report filed by Captain Chen was deliberately vague about how exactly her ship had defeated 5 pirate vessels. She claimed good fortune and the element of surprise. But Thilia's private report to High Command told a different story, one of inexplicable modifications and capabilities that should not have been possible. You've drawn unwanted attention, Thilia warned Sarah as they stood on the observation deck, watching repair drones work on the Requiem's hull. High Command is sending officials to inspect the ship. They're welcome to look, Sarah replied calmly. We've done nothing that violates Confederation protocols. Because what you've done isn't in the protocols, Thilia countered. No one has ever attempted such modifications. 2 days later, a Confederation heavy cruiser rendezvoused with the Requiem. Admiral Kresh himself came aboard, accompanied by a team of engineers and scientists. The inspection was thorough and tense. The Confederation team pored over every system, examining the modifications with increasing bewilderment. These compression ratios in the matter/antimatter reaction chamber should cause catastrophic failure, one engineer protested, pointing to Thomas's work. And yet, they don't, Thomas replied simply. In the weapons bay, Maya explained her adaptive targeting systems to increasingly frustrated Confederation experts. The energy requirements for rapid reconfiguration would overwhelm the power grid, a weapons specialist insisted. Not if you understand quantum state transitions, Maya responded. After hours of inspection, Admiral Kresh summoned Sarah to the conference room. Captain Chen, he began, his voice resonating with authority. What you have done to this vessel violates no specific regulation, simply because no one has ever conceived of such modifications. However, the spirit of our protocols demands. He was interrupted by a ship-wide alarm. Captain to the bridge, Damien's voice came over the comm. Emergency. When Sarah reached the bridge, followed closely by Admiral Kresh and Thilia, the situation became immediately clear. The view screen showed multiple vessels emerging from faster-than-light travel. Scourge warships, Elijah reported grimly. 17. No, 23 vessels. A full invasion fleet. The Scourge, a mysterious species from beyond Confederation space, had been a theoretical threat for decades, but never encountered directly. This is impossible, Admiral Kresh declared. Our intelligence indicated they were years away from reaching this sector. They're jamming all communications, Damien reported. We can't warn the Confederation. My cruiser can engage them, Admiral Kresh said. The Requiem must retreat and attempt to break through the jamming to warn Central Command. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. Your cruiser against 23 warships. You'd be destroyed in minutes. And what do you propose, Captain? Kresh demanded. That your modified patrol ship take on an invasion fleet. Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. Each gave her a subtle nod. Admiral, I propose we initiate Phoenix Protocol Phase 2. What is Phase 2? Thilia asked, suddenly alarmed. Sarah turned to her engineer. Thomas, full power to all modified systems. Disengage the safety protocols. Captain, that will expose the quantum core, Thomas warned. We haven't tested. We're testing it now. Sarah interrupted. Maya, load all offensive configurations. Damien, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies using the compression algorithm. Elijah, I need complete sensor data on every enemy vessel. Admiral Kresh watched in confusion as the bridge transformed. Dormant systems activated, and holographic displays materialized where none had existed before. "Transfer your command staff to the Requiem," Sarah told Kresh. "Your cruiser needs to position itself between us and the Scourge fleet." "You're asking me to use a Confederation heavy cruiser as a shield for an obsolete patrol vessel?" Kresh asked incredulously. "I'm asking you to trust the humans know what we're doing," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "Or you can watch both our ships be destroyed." For a long moment, Kresh studied her face. Then he nodded sharply. "Very well, Captain Chen. Show me what this ship can really do." As the Scourge fleet advanced, the Requiem's transformation accelerated. Panels throughout the ship reconfigured, revealing hidden systems. The lighting dimmed as power was diverted to the modified core. "Phoenix Protocol Phase 2 complete," Thomas reported. "Quantum core stabilized at 300% output capacity. All weapon systems reconfigured for maximum dispersal," Maya added. "Sensor penetration at maximum," Elijah reported. "I'm detecting structural weaknesses in their lead vessels." The Scourge opened fire. The Confederation cruiser absorbed the first salvos, its shields flaring under the assault. "The cruiser can't hold much longer," Damien warned. Sarah nodded. "Signal the cruiser to break formation on my mark." She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Mark." As the cruiser veered away, Sarah gave the command that would change everything. "Execute final Requiem." The ship shuddered as energy cascaded through systems, never meant to channel such power. The view screen showed the space before them distorting as the Requiem unleashed its full potential. A wave of precisely modulated energy burst from the ship, washing over the Scourge fleet. Where it touched, vessels faltered as their systems failed under the assault. "Quantum disruption successful," Elijah reported. 14 enemy vessels disabled. "Second wave charge," Thomas called out, his voice strained. "But the core housing is destabilizing. We can't maintain this output." Sarah understood what that meant. The Requiem was tearing itself apart. "Admiral," she said, turning to Kresh, "your cruiser needs to retreat now and warn the Confederation. We'll hold them here." "You can't possibly," Kresh began. "We knew this might be a one-way mission when we designed these modifications," Sarah interrupted. "The Requiem will live up to its name." Understanding dawned in the Admiral's eyes. A funeral song. A final tribute. Sarah nodded. "Now go." As the Confederation cruiser pulled away, the Requiem turned to face the remaining Scourge vessels. "Divert all power to offensive systems," Sarah ordered. "Prepare for final discharge." "Core containment failing," Thomas warned. 2 minutes to catastrophic breach. "Target the lead Scourge vessel," Sarah commanded. Full impulse. The Requiem surged forward, directly toward the heart of the enemy fleet. "It has been an honor serving with you all," Sarah said, looking at each of her crew members. "The honor was ours, Captain," Maya replied. As the distance closed, the Requiem's modified systems channeled every bit of energy from the failing core into one final assault. The ship glowed with power never meant to be contained in such a small vessel. "Final Requiem discharge," Thomas reported as alarms blared across the bridge. A blinding flash erupted from the ship, expanding outward in a sphere of destructive energy. The Scourge vessels caught in the blast disintegrated instantly. Then, darkness. 3 days later, search vessels found the drifting hull of the Requiem. Against all expectations, the central compartments remained intact, preserved by emergency force fields that had activated in the final seconds. In the medical bay of Confederation Central Station, Sarah Chen opened her eyes to see Admiral Kresh standing beside her bed. "The crew?" she asked immediately. "All survived," Kresh assured her, "though Engineer Rodriguez will need extensive regeneration therapy." Sarah closed her eyes in relief. Then she asked the next crucial question. "The Scourge? Destroyed or retreated?" Kresh replied. "Your final Requiem eliminated 17 of their vessels. The remainder fled back beyond our space. He studied her with newfound respect. The Confederation Council has been in emergency session since the attack. There are many questions about how a supposedly obsolete patrol ship managed to save us from an invasion. And what will you tell them, Admiral? Kresh's expression softened slightly. I will tell them that perhaps it is time for the Confederation to reconsider what humans bring to our alliance. 1 month later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Confederation Central Station, watching as workers swarmed over the reconstructed hull of the Requiem. Beside her stood her crew, battered but alive, and Admiral Kresh. The Requiem is being rebuilt according to your specifications, Kresh informed her. The Council has approved a new class of vessel based on your modifications. They will be called Phoenix class. Sarah smiled. And the crew will remain together, Kresh confirmed. Though you may select additional personnel from Earth, we find ourselves suddenly interested in human innovation. As they watched the reconstruction, Philia approached, her expression thoughtful. When you first came aboard the Requiem, she said quietly, I thought the Confederation had given you a useless ship as an insult. And now? Sarah asked. Philia looked out at the vessel that had saved them all. Now I understand that sometimes the most powerful weapon is not the ship itself, but the determination of those who command it. Sarah nodded, watching as the Requiem took shape once more. They had been given a funeral song and transformed it into a symphony of survival. In doing so, they had shown the galaxy what humanity could truly accomplish, even with nothing but scraps.